Jackie, I am so happy to be able to chat with you today. Jackie is in Australia, and I am here on a Sunday evening in Southern California. Super excited to make sure that we make this time change work. Jackie and I are going to talk about joy in your business being an intentional choice and kind of what happens in your life for that. And so I'm just going to let you take it away, Jackie, and share a little bit about your journey when it comes to being intentional about joy. We can talk through some of the things that we talked about as we were going through that and just kind of see where the conversation goes. I know this is going to be huge encouragement for anyone that is listening as we go through. So go ahead and take it and let's see where this takes us.
Okay, thanks, Tasha. It's so lovely to talk with you. Hey, everyone. We worked together probably 18 months ago, and it was a period of my time in my life that was incredibly tough. I had incredible highs in my business. I had had grief with my mother passing away, and I was just heavy. Felt really, really heavy. And I was at the point of really wanting to walk away from an incredibly divine business that I had created. And so I thought I needed help, and you and I started talking. And it was the second session?
Yes, second session is usually when I do this exercise. That's right.
It was the second session, and you asked me about joy. And it was a simple question of, are you in 80% joy? And we realized, no, I wasn't. And I was in 80% hard. Everything that was coming out of my mouth and that I felt was hard. Mm-hmm. And you being a numbers girl and me being a numbers girl as well, we decided at that point, what if? And you posed a question to me, what if I flipped that to be in 80% joy? You still have to do the hard stuff.
Yep.
But make it 20% of your day rather than 80% of your day. What would the possibilities be at that point? And it really sang so specifically to me, because it's actually, and I reflected today as I was kind of writing notes, getting prepared. In my coaching practice, I always joy was my favorite conversation to have. Mm-hmm. Because majority of us get caught up in the doing, and that doing sometimes becomes forced doing. Mm-hmm. And we get on this treadmill and we forget about the joy of the action, why we began in the first place. So I would always ask my coaching clients, what about joy? What's your joy activity? If we need to add one thing, let's add joy. So I think that's why it worked so quickly, that activity for me in the turnaround, because I intrinsically know and work with joy. And on a really basic level, does a grump inspire you? And it doesn't. And I had to be very self-reflective in thinking, okay, if I'm a grump, how is that infiltrating down into my tree of love? I'm not fertilizing with the good stuff. I'm fertilizing with the downer stuff. So let's work with changing it.
Yeah, I remember one of the things I remember specifically about your situation was what was really like what you loved the most. Well, what you said here, we forget why we began in the first place. And I see so many network marketers, entrepreneurs, I went through the same thing. We go out and we're like, I just love serving people in this way. For me, I just wanted a one-on-one coach all day, every day. You just wanted to help families have better outcomes and have more power, right? To be able to help heal their families. And then somewhere along the way, what started as 80% of your day, helping people, enrolling people, educating people, becomes a very small percentage of your day and then sucks the life. Why do you think that happens?
That's a really good question. I think it could be programming of old when we hit a certain level in our business that becomes leadership. We equate leadership to management and managerial. And
Yeah.
because inspired leadership is a new gig, in our new gig, we don't quite have the intrinsic and unconscious skills and competencies to work in that inspired space. So we go back to what we have known in the past, which is very autocratic and managerial. And we can get stuck in that. And as we move along and up level along in the journey of inspired entrepreneurship, it pushes buttons as well. And that scares us.
Yeah.
So it's easy to hold ourselves back and to almost self-sabotage.
Yeah. Can I tell you what I think it is?
Yeah.
I think it's just the word should.
Yes.
Like
Yes.
just in whatever way, right? So we're over here working, well, I should focus more in this area. I should do this. Or we look at people who are at levels that are higher than ours. You know, that joy is the second call I do when I one-on-one coach a client. The first one is a leadership superpower. And
Yeah.
that's on purpose, because what happens is you look at other leaders. I do this too as an entrepreneur. I look at other people and I'm like, oh, they're doing this thing and they're doing better than I am, right? They're at a level that I wish to attain. So should I be doing what they're doing? And then it pulls me away, because if we don't make an intention to spend our day doing things we enjoy in our business and growing a business and creating something that we enjoy, we accidentally, like, no one says, you know what I would love to do in 7 years? I would love to fall out of love with my husband, right? Get caught as two ships passing in the wind, bicker over everything, and prefer to spend time with my girlfriends, right? Like, nobody says that when they get married, but it just happens unless you tend to it. And I heard this great analogy as well, that weeds are the natural state of the garden. We have to work to pull the weeds out to keep the garden beautiful. And I think that's what happens is intuitively, we start a garden, and we're like, I'm gonna make the most beautiful garden ever. But the weeds in our business, when it comes to joy, like, they're invisible. We don't see them the way we see weeds in a garden. And I think then they kind of take over because the word should comes into play and the weeds grow. We don't even see them until it's too late, but we don't even know how it got this way in the first place, I think. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I agree.
So once you did the joy exercise, what were some of the things that you did more of?
I embraced it straight away. I just looked at my superpower. I was unapologetic in my superpower, and I went back to the basics that built my business effortlessly in the beginning, and that gave me the most maximum amount of joy and influence across my organization. So that's really educating, empowering,
Mm-hmm.
and teaching people about well-being and how it can be done empowered in their homes.
I love
And
that.
the opportunity that gives for up-leveling other aspects of their lives.
I love that. What were some of the things you stopped doing or adjusted?
What I adjusted was, good question. What did I adjust? I adjusted my helicopter parent, I think.
That is a good way. Tell us more.
I allowed other, I gave space.
Yeah.
Yeah, I gave space. So by pulling out my own weeds,
Mm-hmm.
it allowed space in the garden for others to rise.
Right. Well, I think for me, when I get in places of non-joy, it's usually because I'm trying to control something that I actually can't control. I would prefer to do that. And not that we would ever try to control our team members or our clients. I mean, we would never do that. But it's like, it can, at least for me, be subconscious.
Yes.
For sure, where I just, I wish this were different, or I look at this differently. And I think that adjusting, being a helicopter parent, that's a really good way of saying it. So what did that look like in your business, and how did that improve your business? Because I know it had a huge impact.
Oh, look, I was running around in every aspect of my business, becoming incredibly overwhelmed with things that were keeping me from my own personal activities. The joy activity allowed me to remain focused in my own lane and allowed clear lines for everyone else's lane, which I think was blurred. And the way that we built was very much me everywhere anyway. So it was for me to learn that at this next level in my business, that it was everyone else's journey to find their own lane and way of creativity.
Yeah, I love that. And they just responded so well. It was really, really cool to watch.
Oh,
So
I
what
have
else do you have on your page of notes there to share with everyone?
Sorry, what's that?
What else do you have on your page of notes there before I start asking more questions?
Look, the joy activity has given me time freedom. It gives ease and grace. It gives you flow. It gives more possibility and more opportunity. It allows you to, when you work in joy, it just, like when you're in love for the first time, that time slows, everything just unfolds. You see things with beautiful rose-colored glasses, and there is possibility to step into, and you seem to be more sparky and more creative. That's what this joy activity allows you to fall in love with your business again.
I love
And
it.
as I go back to, did we say in this podcast, or was it prior to us talking, like, who's inspired by a grump?
Like, we haven't talked about that part yet. Let me pause for a sec, because I want to touch on that and explain what the activity is, because I don't think we actually said specifically what it was. The joy activity is simply drawing a T chart on your piece of paper, and on the left side, writing down all the activities that bring you joy and energy, and on the right side, all the activities that suck your joy and energy.
That's
And
right.
just having an honest assessment. And so I just call it the joy inventory. And what we find really, really often, every time I've done this with a leader or anyone, right, even if they don't have a team, is that the things that bring them joy and energy tend to be revenue generating activities, because they bring them joy, because they bring them results. And the things that suck the joy and energy, they suck joy and energy because they bring no results. It's typically stuff like graphic design, or calling customers that never call back, or working with builders that aren't actually working, right? Those are not revenue generating activities. And so what happens is, when we shift the 80% over, there's still hard things that we need to do. It creates more impact, it creates more results, which brings more joy. And sometimes when we add skill to the non-joyous activities, it moves them to joy, right? So a joy-sucking activity for me might be writing a web page. But as I've gotten better at them, now I sort of enjoy them, because it was a skill gap, not a soul-sucking wrong fit. This intuition we have when we're wasting time, right, tends to be what ends on that joy sucking. So just so everyone knows what activity Jackie's referring to. And now let's go back. So you said, who is inspired by a grump? So can you talk a little bit more about recruiting? Okay, what we're talking about is recruiting. You came to me with a recruiting problem.
Yes.
Oh, and by the way, no one ever tells.
I have not a problem with anymore.
I figured. No one ever comes to me and says, Tasha, I have a joy problem. Can you fix it? They all come to me and say, I want to be the highest rank in my company and I'm perfect. And then about 10 seconds in, we figure out why they're not at that rank. Because everything. So can you talk a little bit about joy and recruiting?
Okay. It does get back to, are you inspired by someone who is grumpy, who lacks energy, who lacks focus, who is down at all times? No. We walk in our inspired vision. We walk as our business, as our brand, and that is inspirational. That is light. That is energetic. That is whatever your business is. My business is based on wellness. So if you are radiating that, it's an energetic vibrational exchange.
Mm-hmm.
So joy gives you that. You know the energy that is created when you are happy. And that makes recruiting far easier because you become that magnet, that inspiration.
Right. Well, and if you're not, right, if most of your business is not impactful or you don't like it, right? And there are at least, there's lots of things in your business that are not fun. But I think that fun and pleasure and joy are different things, right? So you can do hard things that eventually lead to joy, and you can focus on that. But then your recruiting pitch becomes something like, this is a terrible, boring, like, this is such a frustratingly hard business, but someday it might be great. You want to join me? Versus, it's really fun. It's exciting. We get to meet really cool people. We get to help people be empowered. Oh, and by the way, can you believe we actually get paid too? This is amazing. Like, which recruiting presentation is going to be more compelling? And so I just thought that was so funny when you said, who's inspired by a grump? Like, nobody says you're so grumpy and resentful. I think that's where I want to spend all my time, to be just like that.
Oh, absolutely. I like my business. You want to join me? Seriously.
Well, right. And then that same grump said, and then they're like, maybe call me, and they ghost. And then that same grump is like, that person's a moron. They don't even see what they have, and they get grumpier and grumpier and grumpier without realizing that, yeah, no one wants to be, they're squeezing so hard, right?
And it's that squeeze. It is that squeeze. So to be able to, and joy allows you to let that go. Joy is expansive. And when we have that space, it's like pulling out those weeds. When we pull out those weeds, we have room in the garden for things to bloom and grow.
I love that. How has joy impacted your organization?
Look, lightness, creativity, joy is infectious. And for me, being in my joy and showing the joy in the basics of the activity, it has allowed others to feel joyful and positive about those jobs
Mm-hmm.
that allow you to build and grow again.
Yeah. And when you started on this journey, not everyone said, oh my gosh, Jackie, that's so brilliant. I'm on board 100%. Let's do this. So you met quite a bit of resistance.
We met a lot of resistance. Absolutely.
So how did you work through that as a leader? And what happened to that resistance?
Look, How did I work through it? I saw profoundly the difference so acutely and so quickly in the way that I saw my business, um, and in its operation of growth, that I just held my lane. And I just continued in that lane, knowing and always talking from a place of joy and reminding, knowing that joy will infiltrate at some point. And it has. Just little increments. So in my mentor sessions, it was allowing and giving permission to have that moment of space for joy. And sometimes it was just take a week off. If that's what you need, if that's going to create the joy in the space, let's just let it go. So the joy allowed me to probably be more intuitive as a mentor, as a leader, more understanding, and allowed me to see more clearly the holistic picture across the team and what the teams individually needed. And so to be able to work with each organization as an individual piece rather than just kind of clumping it all together. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think so. So it was just working with each person as, okay, how do we get more of this in your life, in your business, so that you can attract better people? Because here's the other problem is when you're grumpy, who do you attract? Other groups.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I love it, making the I don't want to use the word infectious or viral so flippantly in our current climate, but that's what you're doing is you're spreading that joy throughout your team, right? And positively creating that infection. I love that. How has it impacted your life? Because I mean, this isn't our business is for our life, not for our life for our business. So this decision that you made to have joy be a driver of your business strategy. So first of all, it solidified your organization.
Oh,
right? Like income is great. Mm-hmm. So if anyone's listening, you're like, okay, that's great. So Jackie loves her business, but she must be making like no money. That is not true.
No.
So your income is doing great.
My income is increasing every month.
I love that. That's so great. So here's what's cool. So you implement joy, you have more time freedom, your team is happier, you're happier, and you're spending more time in revenue generating activities, which then increases your income. So now talk to me about how this decision has infiltrated other areas of your life.
Well, let's look at family life. I work less, I play more, I am more present for my children. So I am at every significant event in their life. We can take holidays when we need to. And I feel very blessed that I can be 100% mum as well as 100% businesswoman and feel like I am thriving in both.
I love that. Jackie, what else would you like to share with the Emerge community on this topic?
Get out your pen and paper, everyone, and do the joy activity. It will change the trajectory of your business within 2 months, possibly less. And it gives you permission to be you. And I think that is the number one takeaway from this activity, is it gave me, I am now unapologetic in my skills, in my superpowers, and what gives me joy and what I can generate in joy for myself, but also my organization.
I love that. I wrote that down. Permission to be unapologetically you.
Yes. And we know in this entrepreneurial space, in network marketing, the more you are you, the more success that you will find.
Unless you're a grump.
Unless you're a grump.
And this will fix that.
And this exercise will fix it, absolutely.
I love it. Anything else you'd want to share?
Thank you. Tasha, thank you. Karen, thank you. Karen, thank you for introducing me to Tasha. What you have, I will be forever grateful for what you have done for us and for myself personally and for the team. Enjoy, everyone, be in joy and enjoy the process and the incredible skills that this team has for you. It will change your life.
Thank you so much, Jackie. Well, it is an honor to be even just an asterisk at the bottom of a page somewhere in your journey. Thank you so much for sharing so authentically with everyone.
My pleasure. Bye-bye.